everybody. Good afternoon to all of you. Happy Monday to everybody here. And yes, I'm back after last Friday night's stream. Of course. I am hanging in there as usual with these migraine headaches, but I definitely want to try and stream out this little session here. Even though the stream will be short, the weather is holding up, which I'm thankful for because usually hot weather or rain messes up my wireless router hard wired into my computer, and that drives me crazy, and that usually will end up crashing the stream. I'm turning down the music a little as much as I can a little bit. But what slipped that stream, I think everybody should know how difficult it is to control the volume without having to mute it all the way without accidentally muting it. So how are you fine wonderful folks on this Monday afternoon doing? Can't believe it's summer already. It feels like summer. Definitely is summer. Hopefully, you have plans going on, especially for an extended 4th of July weekend coming up next week. And yeah, the 4th of July weekend is extended all the way up to Tuesday. So I'm just letting you know right now, I will not be streaming Monday and Tuesday next week. So I want to take some time to relax, enjoy the barbecues, enjoy the fireworks, and of course, control my migraines. How is everybody today? I'm sure you're all busy, but remember, college and grammar to high school is out for the summer. Unless you're doing summer school or summer session. Oof, that that would be rough. Usually at this time, I would be able to chat with you all for about 45 minutes to an hour, maybe up to 90 minutes at least, before I get into my gaming. That's my usual shtick when it comes to streaming. But as I stated, this is going to be a short stream today because I want to do my best, some way, somehow, to educate all of you about migraine disease and other headache disorders in general that may that you may be affected by. I did jot down some notes and hopefully some tips from other advocates to be able to help all of you to what you are going through, not only as a Twitch streamer, but as what in the world? Hold on. Hmm. There was a little bit of drop frames. I'm going to have to keep an eye on it again. Maybe due to the weather and my internet connection. It's what I don't like. As I was saying, I want to get all of you who are not only streamers here on Twitch, but also in real life, who is suffering, whether you're suffering a chronic migraine headache, or whether you have an allergy headache, or maybe you have a headache with PMS. Each headache in each person is very different. It only takes the right healthcare provider and the right type of medications, the right type of treatments, the right type of lifestyle modifications that we all can do. Because let me tell you something, what works for one person who has a chronic migraine or another headache will not work for another. And it goes on and on and on. And I'm speaking to you, to all of you on Twitch, from experience, because when had my first migraine, it was and still is very severe. I still suffer very severe migraines from day one. And I believe this may have started that trigger when I was in kindergarten a long time ago. I don't think I told you the story about what happened with me in grammar school in kindergarten. Some We were in recess. Of course, I was in class. Outside, there were kids around me. One kid had a red big dodgeball, kicked it toward me, and I barely was and I was able to balance on it. But then some rude kid, another kid who was pretty rude, kicked the ball under my feet. I fell, hitting the back of my head on the concrete pavement during recess. And I stayed down on the ground until teachers were able to come get me, to pick me up. But there were some kids who were trying to let the teachers know what's happened to me at that time. And in all due respect, what's so strange about that head injury that I suffered from, I didn't have a concussion. Moreover, I should have died at school with internal bleeding to my brain. I shouldn't even be here right now, streaming on Twitch, telling you this very story. And unfortunately, this is still vivid in my memory. I'm thankful that I didn't suffer a concussion. I'm more thankful that I didn't have internal bleeding in my brain or it swelled up. But one thing that did bug me about this, that I didn't know that it would affect me and my lifestyle in the near future. That head injury had cost me academically, and it cost cost me socially. It also cost me some relationships that I could never have. Certain functions in my body are unable to function properly. So if you're wondering why my emotions are always feel unstable, this head injury caused me to have a severe emotional disability called severe emotionally disturbed. And my emotions, mainly my negative emotions, gets triggered very easily, especially if I'm being picked on or bullied in school, which I had been during grammar school. I didn't get picked on in high school, and I didn't get picked on in college, which I'm grateful for. The thing is, I didn't suffer my very first migraine until 1990, in July 1990, when I was in summer school. And then apparently, I didn't understand what migraine was at that time, because one of my teachers at the school that I was attending to also suffered migraines, and I thought for sure that migraines would be contagious, like a cold or the flu or chickenpox. And it turned out that was not the case. I didn't understand exactly what a migraine was until I got sick. Now, unfortunately, the symptoms of a migraine headache, of course, throbbing pain on one side of the head. Normally, it would be at the temples. My migraine started at my right temple in 1990. In 2000, it switched over to my left temple. And unfortunately for me, my left temple, when I suffer migraines, are very, very hard to treat than my right temple was. Back in, I think this was early last year, and I'm in shock that I suffered this migraine. I wasn't feeling well, so I got out of bed and I tried to sleep in my recliner, which is behind me in my gaming chair. I definitely wasn't feeling good. It was a migraine, but I didn't realize it until I found out that my migraine went into the very area of my head that I was never expecting, and that would be my forehead. And as I figured, I got sick twice. I went to the restroom, threw up twice, tried to hydrate myself with some water, and then I tried to take my medication during the middle of the night, which would be in the morning. Unfortunately, I went back to the bathroom about half an hour later, got sick again. I have been suffering I have been suffering these migraines. These severe migraines for 32 years of my 52-year adult life. They are not fun. They have never been fun. And what made it even worse is when I first started streaming here on Twitch in 2021, my migraines would get in the way of streaming, and I usually have to force myself to cancel that stream in order to feel better. Now, I did say one of the symptoms of a migraine was throbbing pain on one side of the head, mainly the temples. Maybe you have a migraine that has another location. Maybe yours is at your forehead. Or maybe you may have a migraine at the back of your neck. Another couple of symptoms are photophobia. Of course, it's usually the fear of light. And I shouldn't say that. That's not actually the correct symptom. The correct symptom is sensitivity to light, sensitivity to sound. You get nauseated. You vomit from these migraines. The blood vessels in your brain ends up constricting instead of expanding to get the blood flow going. And unfortunately, it affects you. It can affect you academically. It can affect you socially, especially when you have a relationship with your friends, your family, your significant other. Not too many people can understand what a migraine truthfully is, and unfortunately, it can end up being undiagnosed or misdiagnosed in more ways than one. I have not been on Twitch too long throughout this month to be able to advocate for most of you who is suffering from a migraine. And there are three levels of a migraine that you may be suffering from. Like I said, I suffer from severe migraines from day number one. You may be suffering mild or a moderate migraine. But if you suffer from a chronic migraine, that means you have to have a migraine for at least 15 days or more per month. But sometimes a chronic migraine doesn't have to be in that certain situation to be 15 days or more a month. It can be chronic due to a certain trigger that you may be suffering from. Your trigger could be food. It could be histamines, in which we have in our body naturally. You could be under stress. You could definitely be suffering migraines due to the change in the weather. Our hormones also can be affected with migraines, unfortunately. And I'm going to post up a little bit of a little stat here that I found for the National Headache Foundation. I'm going to disable Max here, as well as my alerts, just for today, because I'm sure most of you may still be suffering a headache or a migraine, and I know a too loud of an alert, mainly a sound alert, would actually be triggered by it. So I definitely do not want to do that. I want you to check out this stat right here. 52% of all people living with migraine disease are undiagnosed by a healthcare provider. These undiagnosed people are missing out on resources, guidance, and medications needed to ease migraine pain. And unfortunately, that is so true. That 52, that near, that more than half of the people get undiagnosed with migraine disease. And it's a shame that these undiagnosed people are truly missing out on the most crucial of resources, the guidance that they need from others who also suffered from migraine disease, and possibly certain medications that are needed to help ease the pain of a migraine. Now, normally I would be having my webcam on at this point because I definitely am interacting with all of you, but remember, sensitivity to light is one of the symptoms of a migraine. And so I'm trying to be, it's gray right now outside, but I want to make sure it gets to a cool, dark place as possible. A cool, quiet, dark place to control your migraines. Here's another stat that you may not know of, and it could apply to you if you're employed. Migraine is the number 2 cause of lost work days. Have you ever had to miss work due to your migraine or another headache? Holy smoke. Like I said, Slip.Stream's volume is very difficult to control than Soundtrack by Twitch or even Spotify's volume to control the sound. And so I'm trying to make sure I lower the sound just as much as possible. So if you are suffering a migraine right now, I do apologize. I definitely understand. And again, here is again what the symptoms of a migraine is. Remember, this is a neurological disabling disease. And there has to be a cure for migraines because there hasn't been any cure for migraines yet. Migraine is a disease that has its main symptoms. Of course, you have headache, throbbing pain on one side of the head, meaning unilateral, accompanied by nausea and or vomiting, sensitivity to light and or sounds, usually very intense and disabling for those who suffer it. The question is for you, how intense and how disabling are your migraine headaches? If it fits the very symptoms that I just mentioned. Now, there are two types of migraine that you should be aware of. And I'm going to go to the National Headache Foundation's website to let you guys check it out. By the way, you see this little button up top on the upper right hand corner? You may see that button in some websites. This controls light mode and dark mode. Once I switch to dark mode, the page will be black and white. The mission of the National Headache Foundation is, of course, to cure headache and to end its pain and suffering. There are several ways that you could check out the National Headache Foundation, of course. It is located right here in Chicago for the last 53 years. And I would not have known about the National Headache Foundation back in the 1970s at that time because I was still very young, and I don't believe it would have applied to me if I had a migraine at that time. But I'm sure in your youth you would have had your very first migraine, or maybe later on. This is Migraine 101, and you definitely want to check out most of these YouTube videos that could help you out to avoid your migraines. Of course, you can check out on their social media. Over on YouTube, it's National Headache Foundation. So as well as on Instagram. On Twitter, it's NHF, I believe. There are very wonderful resources here. Now, there's the primary care migraine. There's Migraine University for college students. And let me, for those of you who are in college, let me post another stat here because I believe you really should pay attention to this. College students often lead lifestyles that are high risk for headache disorders, and that includes migraine. So if you want to check it out, we could go over to Migraine University. Migraine University provides resources for young people living with migraine disease and headache disorders, while trying to navigate their college experience. And of course, you can submit your story if you're a college student, if you are the one suffering with migraines. Hey, don't hesitate on that. The causes of headache disorders in college students. Many people experience headache disorders, often due to triggers related to their age, gender, health, and overall lifestyle. College students are no different. In fact, these young and seamlessly healthy individuals often lead lifestyles that put them at high risk for headache disorders. Many college students will experience a tension type headache during their time on campus. A tension type headache causes non throbbing, frequently bilateral pain. The underlying cause of a tension type headache is likely due to chemical and neuronal imbalances in the brain and may be related to muscle tightening in the back of the neck and or scalp. It is no surprise that tension type headache occurs so frequently in the college population. Students spend much of their time in straining positions, whether it be sitting in uncomfortable lecture hall seats. I'm going to admit it. There was a time that I did have to sit into a lecture hall in college, and the seats were uncomfortable. Oof, they were very uncomfortable. Or hunching over tables trying to catch up on reading assignments. Ugh, man, I could tell you college nightmare stories that could make you have goosebumps on your forearms. Moreover, college students are no strangers to the other common triggers of tension type headache, including temporary stress, fatigue, and anxiety. From cramming for finals to worrying over grad school applications, from late night parties to early morning hangovers, from straining to read endless pages of small print textbooks to staring at a computer screen for hours at a time. And apparently, staring at a computer screen for hours at a time, unfortunately, it does not only apply to college students. It applies to anybody and everybody. College students need to know how to avoid triggers that can easily occur as a result of their lifestyle. And I'm sure you could be able to check out what taking these precautions that can help with your headache disorders if you're in college. Take frequent breaks to give your eyes a rest. Studying for long periods of time can cause eye strain. Invest in an ergonomic chair. Uncomfortable seating can cause neck and back pain that may lead to tension type headaches. When it comes to alcohol, now don't tell me you have not drank alcohol in college. Don't do it. Don't try hide it. I'm sure most of you have, but I'm thankful I haven't. Always drink in moderation and with plenty of water in between drinks to avoid hangover headaches in the morning. If hangovers do occur, treat with hydration in foods high in fructose, such as tomato juice or honey. One big tip that I could give you, and apparently when it involves alcohol and migraines, and this does not only goes for college students, this also goes through our adult lives, whether we're partying or just socializing. One trick I can maybe give you is to grab some crackers, unsaltine crackers, and spread some honey on them. Actually, you could do at least 2 or 3 unsaltine crackers, spread some honey on it, eat eat those crackers with honey. Before you take your first alcoholic drink. This should help prevent you from having a hangover and possibly not have a migraine at that time. It'll give your chance for your brain and your stomach to settle down with the honey and the crackers. But it might be a good tip. You may want to try it. Again, a few, maybe 2 or 3 unsaltine crackers. Spread a little bit of some honey on them and eat them before you drink your alcohol to avoid any migraines and possibly a hangover in the morning. If you're trying to stay awake to study, drink coffee only in moderation. Caffeine withdrawal can be a common trigger to avid coffee drinkers. And of course, speaking of caffeine, there's something else that you should be aware about. I will post the next stat right now. Avoid caffeine withdrawal headache by terminating extreme consumption of caffeine. Caffeine has a complex relationship with headaches and migraine. When added to the combination of acetaminophen and aspirin, the pain relieving effect is increased by 40%. However, too much caffeine can trigger a caffeine rebound headache after continual caffeine consumption. And it's very important that you try to limit your caffeine intake, such as coffee or even cola also has caffeine in it. I had to limit my intake of caffeine in cola for a very while now, but I had to use cola instead of water in order to get my migraine medication to work. The problem is water for me, and I have to always hydrate with water because I definitely don't want getting kidney stones. That's another topic for another day. I would have to drink cola with and taking my migraine medication with it on the onset of my migraine. But now, since I have limited my caffeine intake, I'm not in a caffeine rebound headache, and I'm thankful for that. But it can be more troublesome if you drink too much of a caffeine. I never drink coffee, and my tea is always decaffeinated, so I would avoid caffeine in tea and coffee at all times. The only time I will drink caffeine is, of course, in cola with my migraine medication and nothing else. Though college students don't always operate on a regular schedule, try not to vary your meal and sleep schedules too much. Irregular sleep cycles and missing or delaying meals can both trigger migraine attacks. I'm going back to college students. Practice relaxation and biofeedback techniques to relieve the daily stress and anxiety of college life. And of course, there is some more information if you want to check out on this and more for college students. All you have to do is go to headaches.org, go to Migraine University, and of course, check it out. If you check it out if this affects you. Now, why don't we talk about work migraines for a moment? I think there we go. I was clicking the wrong section, the wrong area for a minute, so my apologies. What is work migraine? Work Migraine is an online workplace wellness program that helps employees and their managers understand migraine disease. Studies show their program can reduce both the incidence of migraine as well as lost work days and reduce productivity due to migraine disease. Work Migraine has been successfully utilized by the National Headache Foundation's Work Migraine program is now available to the public for free. And of course, you could check out which modules would be appropriate for you. These are the employee modules that you could check out on their webs on NHS National Headache Foundation's website. They're not on YouTube. These are interesting modules from migraine triggers, diet and migraine, behavioral therapies, even devices for migraine for the employees. The employers has modules, human resources, and of course the employer. So you may want to check them out. All you have to do is just go over to the main website, learn more about work migraine, and check it out. The communication materials for work migraine also will let you know on what can fit you if you're an employee or an employer. Don't hesitate to check out these materials. And make sure if you are an employee, make sure that you pass this around. Let them know about this. So if you or if someone that you know suffers from chronic migraine, and if you want more information on this, which is the National Headache Foundation, you can find 2 panels of mine in my About section here on Twitch that you could click on. As I stated, this is the National Headache Foundation's website. We will be going to chronic migraine awareness very shortly. But I want to get you guys what you've been after for a while. And one of the resources that is so critical that I wanted to bring up here is the complete headache chart. And this is a very critical piece of information that could relate to the type of headache that you are suffering or had suffered, and you may want to pass this on as well. Now, this is the complete headache chart. I believe I showed you this a while back, but just in case you are new here to the scene. By the way, I have turned off alerts for followers through subscribers as well as everything else. So if you're following me for the first time, if you're a subscriber as well, please forgive me, but I think it's best that I want to educate you all without having any disruptions from OBS and my alerts. Why don't we go through these one by one, and then if you have any questions so far, you could engage with me in chat. The allergy headache, of course, the symptoms are generalized headache, nasal congestion, and watery eyes. Now, the precipitating factors are, of course, seasonal allergens, such as pollen. It depends on which type of pollen you could be allergic to. You could be allergic to the trees, you could be allergic to the grass, or maybe you could be allergic to ragweed. And you may want to check out what is your main pollen trigger. Molds, of course. Allergies to food are not usually a factor, but it could be. The treatment for this is antihistamine medication, topical, nasal cortisone related sprays. I'm sure one way or another most of us don't like nasal sprays too much, right? I mean, you try to breathe in to the nasal spray and it ends up accidentally getting to your throat. Feels like a burning sensation. Ugh. That's not fun. Or desensitization injections. Hmm, that is interesting here. I'm going to make sure that I list the sources as well on all this so you could be able to check it out. Unfortunately, Twitch won't allow me to go over 500 words, as I figured it's not going to. Yeah, I figured that. I'm going to have to do this, so I'm going to have to do this a little bit differently, so you'll have to forgive me. I'll do this at least one at a time because histamine is very crucial at this point. And again, I'll make sure I post the sources just to let you know on where I found them from. If you want to check them out. But let me read to you what the symptoms of an allergy headache include: general headache, as it stated, watery eyes and nasal congestion, pollen, mold, and more are contributing factors that can impact one summer. Histamine is a substance that accumulates in plasma due to an excess of exogenous intake or defect in its degradation. This accumulation is associated with the digestive cutaneous 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 oof, cutaneous and neurological diseases, specifically with migraine. Histamine plays a crucial role in migraine pathogenesis by sustaining the neurogenic inflammation pathway. Mast cells found in the dura mater next to the trigeminal nociceptive inputs may have an important implication of the pathogenesis of migraine and the rest of vascular headaches. Histamine desensitization therapy has been used as a treatment of last resort for refractory cases of vascular headaches. And again, if you want to check out these sources that I posted, you may want to make sure that you click one at a time. Again, we'll get to chronic migraine awareness in a little while. Again, we've talked about caffeine withdrawal headache. There's aneurysm. There's cervicogenic headache. There's a chronic daily headache. And of course, your chronic migraine. Again, these occur more than 15 days in a month. You have your cluster headaches, which apparently, of course, allergies can fit into this category. Depression and headache, of course, our mental health is as important as our physical health. The symptoms for depression and headache is people with painful diseases tend to become impressed. Causes can originate from a wide variety of complaints that can be categorized as physical, emotional, and psychic. The presence of depression is often subtle and the diagnosis is frequently missed. Depression is a widespread affliction that can be treated, but first, it must be unmasked. Down here, you have eye strain headache, and the symptoms of eye strain headache is usually frontal or bilateral pain directly related to eye strain, which is a rare cause. You have a muscle imbalance or uncorrected vision, astigmatism. So your chance for treatment and prevention is correct your vision. Now, exertional headache is going to apply to the men here. It's going to apply to the men here because it's really surprising that what you can do here. The primary cause of migraine in men is physical exertion. It's generalized head pain in a short duration, either in minutes or up to an hour. During or following physical exertion, such as running, jumping, even sex, or passive exertion, sneezing, coughing, heading to the bathroom. 10% of this caused by organic diseases, aneurysms, tumors, blood vessel malformations, while 90% are related to migraine or cluster headaches. There's a treatment, of course. Treatment, the cause must be accurately determined, most commonly treated with indomethacin or propranolol or Inderol. Propranolol is, I'm sorry, I'm having trouble saying these medical terms. It's a beta blocker. Let's say that. What I'm using right now, Inderol, is the generic form of propranolol. Uh, Propranolol. Try to say that 10 times fast. It's a beta blocker that not only helps me with my migraines, but I also have a heart condition that gives uncomfortable pressure. Extensive testing is necessary to determine the headache cause. Surgery is occasionally indicated to correct the organic disease. Now, exertion headache can be prevented by alternative forms of exercise, but you gotta avoid jarring exercises. If I'm going too fast for you guys, please let me know in the comments. Please. A fasting headache, the symptoms of that is the frontal location with diffuse, non-pulsating pain of mild to moderate intensity. And it's caused by fasting. Headache should be resolved in less than 72 hours after eating. So you can eat multiple small meals daily to prevent a fasting headache. I'll tell you what, folks. This is going to be a little bit long here, so I'm going to take a break. And I advise that you do the same because, of course, we have to take a break every once in a while, also to avoid migraine and other headache disorders. But I'm going to leave this up for you instead of going to my BRB screen because we're going to be talking about fever headache, hangover headache, which, of course, I've already talked about, and, of course, headache attributed to infection that could be very serious here. All right. I'll be back in a couple of minutes. Hey everyone, I'm back. Goodness, why don't we continue on with the complete list of headaches, shall we? We're talking about fever headache right now, and fever headache is generalized pain that develops with fever and is caused by the swelling of the blood vessels in the head. And of course, one of the main factors is infection. So your best chance is aspirin, acetaminophen, like Tylenol, NA, NSAIDs, like Aleve, like the ibuprofen, and antibiotics. But there is no prevention for fever headache. This is an interesting headache type that I wish I knew about. Giant cell art, arteriitis. Hmm. I, I better I better make sure I read this right before I even say it. Yeah, a boring, burning, or jabbing pain caused by inflammation of the temporal arteries. Pain often around the ear when chewing, weight loss, eyesight problems. This rarely affects people under the age of 50. The precipitating factors may be due to vascular disease characterized by inflammation of the blood vessels. You can treat this with oral corticosteroids after a diagnosis. Got confirmed with a biopsy of the temporal artery and detected by erythrocyte sedimation sedimation rate, or ESR, and C-reactive protein test. Ugh, my goodness. Of course, we talked about hangover headache. Of course, headache due attributed to infection is what we're going to. Diffuse moderate to severe pain caused by acute infection accompanied by a fever. So this is basically the same thing as fever headache. So I don't need to repeat myself. Hemiplegic migraine. Stroke-like symptoms, severe throbbing pain, often on one side of the head, numbness, weakness, or paralysis on one side of the body, nausea, vomiting, dizziness, loss of balance, speech difficulties, visual disturbances, auras, sensitivity to light, sensitivity to sound, and smell. The hemiplegic migraine has a strong genetic component. Once confirmed, treatment should consist of dietary modification to avoid triggers, regular exercise and sleep, and dietary supplementation such as magnesium, topiramate, valproic acid, and calcium channel blockers have shown to be the best pharmacological pharmacologic pharmacologic results. Whew, you folks can understand how difficult I'm having reading these words and saying these words in the correct manner. Triptans must be avoided to prevent severe complications. Such care is provided under the supervision of a multidisciplinary headache clinic or a specialized neurologist. I could go on and on and on with this entire headache list, but there are still some of them that it's very important. Now, there is, of course, you got hunger headache, you got hypertension headache, and of course, there's the menstrual headache. Hmm. I could get into that, but I want you guys to make sure that you check out the complete headache list by yourselves through headaches.org. But these are the two migraine. These are the two headaches I need to talk about, which involves, of course, migraine. And that's migraine with and without aura. To let you know what migraine with aura is, there are warning signs that develop, which may include visual disturbance or numbness in the arm or leg. Warning symptoms subside within 30 minutes, followed by severe pain. This is a hereditary component. Other factors include certain foods, the pill, or menopausal hormones, excessive hunger, changes in altitude, the weather, lights, excessive smoking, and emotional stress. At the earliest sign, at the earliest onset of symptoms, treat using biofeedback, ergotamine, dihydroergotamine, or a 5-HT agonist. Ugh. Once the pain has begun, treat with ice packs, isomethylene, mucate, combination products containing caffeine, ergotamine, DHE injectable and nasal spray, 5-HT agonists, analgesics, or medications which constrict the blood vessels. Steroids may be helpful for prolonged attacks. Of course, biofeedback, beta blockers, anticonvulsants, calcium blockers, and other antibodies were recently approved. Now, migraine without aura is severe, one-sided throbbing pain, often accompanied by nausea, vomiting, cold hands, sensitivity to light and sound. This is also hereditary, and the same factors, treatments, and prevention applies. Speaking of hereditary, I believe we'll go back to this at another time later on. I want to take you to another website that will explain migraine and genes. This is the European Migraine and Headache Alliance's website. And it talks about migraine and genetic. I'm sorry, this looks dark on your end, but if you go to the website here, which I will post the link right now, you'll see it's in light. It's not supposed to be dark like this. I don't believe I've seen a light mode or dark mode up top, so that's definitely not the case. But I want to read to you about migraine and genetic. When migraine is associated with a polygenic inheritance to you folks. A new study has found that some families are especially sensitive to migraines and that genetics influences the type of migraines suffered by affected people. As as I stated, migraine is a disease that has its main symptoms: headache, throbbing, pain, usually on one side of the head, nausea and or vomiting, sensitivity to light and or sounds, usually very intense and disabling for those who suffer it. It's very frequent it's a very frequent condition whose origin is a combination of genetic and environmental factors. It affects between 11 and 16% of the general population, with the highest incidence in women. It's more frequent here in the United States, followed by Europe, and finally in Asia and Africa. By the way, if you cannot read this in dark mode, because it looks like it went dark mode on OBS for some unknown reason instead of being light. Again, click on that website in chat so you can read it in the light mode. Polygenic inheritance and risk of migraine. Another form of migraine prevalence in families previously discovered involves polygenic inheritance, which means that it involves the intervention of a group of specific genes with different versions interacting with each other to provoke the manifestation of this disease. The new research, as explained in a statement, has discovered that polygenic variants involve a higher risk of migraine than Mendelian genes associated with the first form already described. What this research has clearly established is that migraines that appear within the same family are due more to the interaction of a group of genes with different versions than to the presence of three homogeneous Mendelian genes unrelated some with each other. But back to migraine is associated with apologetic inheritance. Previous research has identified two ways in which migraines can manifest themselves in families. One of them is recognize three Mendelian genes associated with a hemiplegic migraine, a severe form of a migraine whose symptoms of resemble that of a cardiovascular accident. Now, common genetic variants and its influence in migraine. This shows that common genetic variants are very important factors in the multiplication of migraines within the same family, although there is still work to determine which more common polygenic variants are related to migraines, as well as the influence of the variants Mendelian. Although Mendelian genetic variants do not cause the majority of migraine cases, scientists will now be able to investigate how these genes impact the biological pathways responsible for the symptoms of migraine and develop medications to protect these pathways from genetic influences. To reach these results, the research directed by the Finnish Arno Pelote focused on determining the degree of influence both of the Mendelian genes and of a polygenic accumulation in the migraines that are inherited among the members of the same family. The study shuffled data from 1,589 families composed of 8,319 individuals with a medical history of migraines. These data were compared with data from another group of 14,470 people, of whom 1,101 had migraines. The researchers identified 45 families who suffered from hemiplegic migraines and sequenced their genes. They found that only 4 of them were caused by Mendelian genes, while the majority were caused by polygenic variants. And this research is pretty darn incredible to have someone to finally be able to research on migraines and our genetic factors. Hopefully, there will be a chance at a treatment that attains to our DNA. So again, if you want to check out this the subject here, please go over to mehalliance.org/news/migraine polygenic inheritance. But goodness, let's go back to the National Headache Foundation's website and back to the. You know what? No, no, no. Why don't I, instead of going back to the complete headache chart, you could check out these resources right here. This is the Head First Digital Monthly Newsletter. I am in shock they have yet to continue on, but I believe if you sign up through headaches.org, you'll be able to get their newsletter through your email. There are webinars available, possibly in your area, that involve certain topics like allergy and migraine. Ask the pharmacist. Becoming a migraine pro. Hmm. Biofeedback and migraines, caffeine and headache. Of course, the cervical genic headache, chronic daily headache, the chronic migraine webinar. You got your cluster headache right here. Alternative treatments for headaches, and talking about depression and headache. Of course, there are more webinars available as they come through this website. Now, a bequest is a provision in a will or estate plan that allocates all or part of the individual's estates to a designated charity or nonprofit. There are three types of bequests on this website. Of course, specific is amount of cash, securities, or property. Percentage is a percentage stated of your estate. Residual is all or a portion of what remains of your estate after specific and general bequests are distributed. Of course, there is a charitable gift annuity. You have to have a life insurance policy, a life estate. Uh, a life estate is an arrangement in which a donor gives their home to the nonprofit while retaining the right to live there for the remainder of their life. The donor receives an immediate income tax deduction. The charity may sell the property upon the donor's death. And let me tell you something, folks, while I get back to the website here. Unfortunately, you can die from migraine. I mean, you will die from a migraine before your heart or your kidneys fail, or your entire body's organs fail. Maybe I'm wrong, and I hope somebody better tell me I'm wrong about this. But let's go over to hmm let's try something that we have yet to talk about. And that would be the headache impact test. And I think this is very important that you check this out here. A headache impact test helps patients communicate the severity of their headache pain to their healthcare provider. There are 3 tests that can help you communicate the severity of your headache pain to your doctor and or help you identify a migraine. If you need a diagnosis or are seeking treatment, please visit their provider finder page to locate a healthcare provider in your area. As I stated before, this is HIT. This is the headache impact test. This tool helps patients communicate the severity of their headache pain to their healthcare provider. It helps to determine the impact headaches have on the patient's life, better communicate the information to the healthcare provider, and track the patient's headache history and the effectiveness of therapy over time. When a healthcare provider understands how headaches are affecting their patient, they are better able to provide a successful treatment program. And that means healthcare providers should evaluate the following symptoms to determine if a patient has migraine: visual distortions such as blind spots, flashes of light and zigzag lines, motor weakness, disruption in sensory symptoms such as smell, taste, or touch, temporary loss of ability to speak or understand speech, temporary lack of coordination or control of arms and legs, vertigo, unilateral headache pain, pulsating headache, aggravation of headache by routine physical activity, nausea and or vomiting, sensitivity to light and or sound, and moderate to severe pain intensity. And what makes this a bit free is that you can download the test and make sure that you give it to your healthcare provider so you can communicate with your primary care physician and hoping that he or she will be able to provide a more appropriate action and treatments for the type of headache you're suffering from. Now, let me tell you something. this is the first time I've heard about the headache impact test. I'm going to make sure I download this for my sake so that next time I go to my doctor and give her this test and see if she can help me out. But that's only just one test, mind you. There's a second test called MIDAS. And MIDAS stands for Migraine Disability Assessment Questionnaire. It was developed to measure headache related disability in three areas: paid work and education in school or college, household work, and family, social, and leisure activities. By measuring the number of days missed in these activity areas due to migraine, the MIDAS tool can improve migraine care by getting treatment right the first time a patient consults with his or her healthcare provider. The MIDAS score looks at a patient's medical needs and helps the healthcare provider to determine the appropriate treatment at the first consultation. And of course, you can make sure that you click that test as well. There's one more test that you really should check out if it involves you, and that's the ID migraine test. Answering yes to 2 out of 3 of these simple questions effectively identifies migraine sufferers. Has a headache limit your activities for a day or more in the last 3 months? Are you nauseated or sick to your stomach when you have a headache? And does light bother you when you have a headache? If you answered 2 out of 3 of these, then clearly you got a migraine. But I would suggest that you check out the headache impact test and MIDAS, especially, that it fits your type of migraine. There are other headache tools that you could check out, such as tools for living with migraine and headache disorders. Now, here's something that you may not know. It's the Migraine Monitor app. Migraine apps are an excellent way to monitor migraine triggers, share data with your doctor, and keep detailed records of headache episodes, which can help provide additional insight about triggers and how to avoid them. Patterns identified from these migraine apps may help your doctor determine which type of headache you have and the most beneficial course of treatment. There are, I believe there are only 2 apps at the moment. The Migraine Monitor app is more than just an intuitive tool for tracking your headaches. their severity, duration, and triggers, the migraine monitor allows you to access the support of your doctor or their headache navigator and the anonymous community of other headache sufferers that you can interact with if you choose. Easy to read reports can be shared with others, such as family, friends, or your doctor. Get daily information that helps get your headaches under control, such as news, tips, and inspirations. Designed by neurologists in concert with Health Monitor's 30 plus years of patient education expertise. Now, for this migraine monitor, the features are highly intuitive headache tracker. Again, the duration, sensitivity, the aura, stress. Your medication tracker, which includes effectiveness. The trigger tracker. Connect to your doctor, allows the doctor to follow your progress between visits. The ability to share your headache, medication, and trigger reports. Anonymous social networking with other people with headaches. Automatic weather data for analysis. And detailed reports and insights. And if you want to try and download this app, it's migrainemonitor.com. I'll post a link to the app's website in case you want to download it. I don't know if it's available for Android and iPhone as of right now. It may be available for your desktop or laptop. You may want to check it out. The second app available is the Curelator N1 Headache app. The Curelator 1 N1 Headache, previously called Curelator Headache, is a digital health platform developed in collaboration with world experts in migraine and patient organizations, including the National Headache Foundation. See the Curelator website to learn more, and I'll make sure I post a link for that website in chat as well. N1 Headache makes it easy to log your headaches and other migraine symptoms, medication use, and to track each day a customizable range of factors like moods, weather, diet, etc., that may affect the occurrence of headaches or migraines. The app is customizable to suit the things you'd like to track. And it looks like this is available for iPhone. The features of this particular app is the personal analytical report to help you confirm and manage lifestyle factors associated with your migraine attacks. Identify potential triggers, protectors, and warning signs. An extensive diary of your attack symptoms. It can log medications and track effective migraine on your activities, which may be useful for discussions with your doctor, employer, etc. I want to read to you all about the quote unquote root cause of migraine. The root cause of migraine is unknown, and current treatment options act on different pathways in the body, which I talked about earlier. This is why what works for one person may not work for another. Treat at the first sign of an attack and keep medications with you when you go out or travel. And I'm going to post a link to Instagram on another reliable resource, Migraine Chronicles. So you may want to check that out and follow up with them. One advocate stated that you can enjoy a pain free time, avoid your triggers, and try not to focus on the next attack. Have a plan, but don't plan your life around it if you can help it. And that is such a good advice from one advocate to others who is suffering from migraine. We should all always enjoy a pain free time, avoiding our triggers and trying not to focus on the next attack. We've got to have a plan, but don't plan our lives around it, even if we can help it, one way or another. That's what we gotta do. Now, migraine attacks typically start during adolescence or someone in their 20s. And of course, I have given you myself as an example, as I stated that I suffered a migraine, my very first severe migraine, when I was 19. So I was still an adolescent at that time, even though technically when you're over 18, you're an adult. Something else about me that you may know. I'm part of a marginalized group of people. I'm a person of color, which unfortunately affects migraines, clearly affects women of color. Apparently, it affects mostly in the African American community than Hispanic or Asian American communities that suffer from migraine. So, where haven't I told you? Where haven't I showed you yet? Here are the resources and tools necessary in case you want to come to the National Headache Foundation's website. I've already stated some of the resources already. Head First newsletter, the headache tools, Headwise podcast, Migraine U, and of course, Work Migraine. and as well as the headache chart and the webinars. But what you haven't heard from me is, of course, about the publications, the clinical trials, and especially the veterans, the servicemen and women who defend our country each and every day. They also suffer migraine. And what the National Headache Foundation did was created Operation Brainstorm. And I want to read to you aloud what this is. Operation Brainstorm was established by the National Headache Foundation as a health resource initiative for veterans and active duty military personnel living with migraine disease and headache disorders. Operation Brainstorm is a series of forums and listening tours hosted at American Legion halls that brings veterans together to learn about chronic headache and migraine. There are educational videos for patients, training programs for healthcare professionals treating migraine and headache disorders, and distribution of free migraine survival toolkits. Through this program, the National Headache Foundation hopes to reach and support veteran and military patients and physicians. And apparently, there was a listening tour date that was on Wednesday, June 7th, and that was, can we visit your post? If you are a veteran or currently active duty military personnel, patients, and physicians, this is definitely the website for you. For veterans who served in combat, TBI may occur from any event that impacts the head, such as blast exposures, motor vehicle crashes, falls, or being hit by flying debris. The severity of TBI may range from mild to moderate to severe. Veterans with more severe TBIs are at greater risk for long-term complications. And TBI is traumatic brain injury. The Vietnam Head Injury Study, or VHIS, is a long-term study of over 1,000 veterans who suffered traumatic brain injuries between 1967 and 1970 while serving in Vietnam. VHIS has been instrumental in extending the field of TBI research and in uncovering medical and social issues that affect those who suffer from traumatic brain injuries. The results of the study are providing clinicians and scientists with insights into the long-term recovery of function following TBI, the role of prefrontal cortex in executive functions, better predictions of long-term outcome, including cognitive, neurological, and genetic factors, and the effects of head injury incurred in youth on aging and the development of dementia. In recent years, the Afghan and Iraq wars have increased the prevalence of migraine disease and headache disorders in veterans returning to the United States. In one study of 3,621 U.S. soldiers screened within 90 days of returning from a 1 year combat tour in Iraq, soldiers were shown to have 2 to 4 times the incidence rate of migraine as compared to the general population. This research and more like it has validated that men and women in the military are returning to civilian life experiencing migraine headaches due to conditions like traumatic brain injury and post traumatic stress disorder. Poorly managed migraine translates to a potentially huge impact on a patient's quality of life, from missed or non productive workdays to lost family and personal time. The National Headache Foundation feels that it is vital to reach out to these men and women who have served our country, providing by providing resources to better understand and manage headache pain. To do this, the NHF is proud to introduce Operation Brainstorm. The program consists in person listening forums, sponsorship of veteran views, educational videos, training programs for healthcare professionals, migraine survival toolkits for veterans, and an online resource guide that provides the top resources available to help military men and women cope with neurological trauma effectively. Periodically, the NHF will also provide information about the latest research, statistics, and governmental assistance programs set in place during this crucial time. Now, if you want more information about Operation Brainstorm here, check it out. Please, always educate yourselves, educate others about chronic migraine. If you go back to resources and click on clinical trials, there may be a chance that you could get a clinical trial near you. Again, there are also patient assistance programs that are available. And it ranged from the Botox Savings Program to Social Security disability benefits. Headwise also has a magazine that you may want to check out in the publication section of the National Headache Foundation. where else have I yet to? Oh Lord, this is the Giving Tree Remembrance Program. In case you're unfamiliar with this, and I'm going to read to you out loud what this is. Memorable memorial gifts are a special way to remember a loved one with a meaningful and impactful gift. You can make a donation online here and select in memory of to ensure the honoree is properly recognized. And of course, the National Headache Foundation's information is on here. Recognition for a memorial donation depends on the gift, but may include honoree's name is listed on the gala program. Honoree's name is listed on the NHF website. Honoree's name added to the NHF's Giving Tree in the Foundation's headquarters. Share the honoree's story and photo on the NHF's website. How were they impacted by migraine and headache disorders? The donor's name engraved on a plaque. They will send the family an acknowledgement that you have donated in honor of their loved one. And of course, if you want to share information about the Giving Tree program, contact their office and they'll send you some brochures on that. But the key mission of the National Headache Foundation has always been to cure headache and to end its pain and suffering. And I hope that you all will be able to help someone like me out, because I definitely want to live a pain-free time life. As I stated, these migraines are no fun, especially when you're streaming and you're trying to advocate for everybody else. That what I've been going through, hopefully that it doesn't affect anyone else. Now we're at the point of we are at the Chronic Migraine Awareness's website. Of course, chronic migraine awareness amplifies the voice of the chronic migraine community is their mission. And I will post their link. Migraine is the third most common medical problem in the world and the seventh most disabling of all medical conditions. Chronic migraine is defined as headache on 15 or more days a month for at least 3 months, having the features of migraine headache on at least 8 days of month. Individuals with chronic migraine often experience migraines that are more severe and longer lasting even with medication. Chronic migraines poses a greater impact on the patient's life than episodic migraine, including lower household income levels, less ability to do chores, and more missed work days. Of course, as you know, every June is National Migraine and Headache Awareness Month. And what CMA is doing each year is something very important. Shine a light in remembrance, and that takes always takes place on June 7th. On June 7th, light a candle in remembrance of those who have died as a result of the disabling impact of migraine and headache disorders. Please take a picture of your light and share why you are lighting a candle using the hashtag shine a light. Always there's a fact a day. Since 2013, CMA set up Fact a Day to push education and awareness through a social media fact sharing campaign. They encourage their members to share these facts throughout the month using the hashtag Fact a Day. There are the faces of chronic migraine. When you can, you will be able to check out the faces of chronic migraine, but you need a Facebook account in order to do that. Now, just to let you know about this day coming up, yeah, it's not actually coming up in this, here it is. I just had to scroll up. This is CMA Day live panel coming up on Thursday, June 29th. This Thursday, register and win a triage kit. Chronic Migraine Awareness invites you to register and watch a live Zoom event happening on Thursday, June 29th at 2 p.m. Eastern, which would be 1 p.m. Central. They will be joined by host Nancy Harris Bonk, Vice President of Chronic Migraine Awareness Incorporated, as well as Dr. Thomas Burke of Neuro Health, Shriti of Chronically Meh, Marina of Parenting with Migraine, and Carmen Rose Filio, Fili, uh, Violo, Fialo, my apologies, talking about what it's like what's what it's like living with chronic migraine. June is Migraine and Headache Awareness Month, also known as MHAM. Please feel free to share with your social followers. And as you folks notice, I am sharing with you folks the hashtag MHAM in my stream today. But you could also do chronic migraine proclamations. Proclamations are a great way to help spread the word within a community about a cause. What is a proclamation exactly? It is a legal looking document that a mayor issues that states this day is officially Migraine and Headache Awareness Month for the city or state in June. It is a small PR gesture many communities are already doing for Migraine and Headache Awareness Month, and your city or town could be next. So you may want to try that anytime. There's something you should know as well as I go over to the migraine and mental health guide. Hi, Hunter. How are you on Monday? This is for mental health support on the Chronic Migraine Awareness's website. Living with chronic migraine takes a toll on our physical and emotional health. Unfortunately, we tend to focus on our physical health, often ignoring our emotional needs. Chronic illness impacts our entire life, and it's imperative that our emotional health is also a priority. It is important to understand the connection that living with chronic disease can have on emotional well being. I'll just move this up to you. How are you doing, Hunter? People with migraine have a reported 2 to 4 fold increase in lifetime risk of developing major depressive disorder. The stress of dealing with chronic illness creates understandable emotional impact and mental pressure. Having symptoms dismissed as in your head can lead to feeling frustrated and unheard. Not being believed can cause anger and disappointment. Coping with disabling pain and symptoms with ineffective medical care can lead to emotions of fear and sadness, leading to depression and anxiety. Living with chronic disease can create many losses, such as employment, relationships, financial instability, dreams, and expectations. These losses can create grief and feelings of denial, guilt, anger, and sadness. Below is a toolbox of coping and resilience strategies. Feel free to use what works, leave what doesn't, and even add new tools. practice toolboxes for emotional distress tolerance. Find an activity that you can do that requires thought and concentration, such as solving word puzzles, reading, writing in a journal, crafting, playing an instrument, etc. In contributing, do something that focuses on another person. Ask a friend about their day, make a gift for someone, send a card to a friend, or volunteer at your own pace. Comparisons. Put your situation in perspective by comparing it to a more painful or distressing time. Realize how resilient you are and think about a time when you got through a difficult period. You have survived 100% of your worst days. The emotions. Do something to create a new emotion that competes with your distressing emotion. If you're feeling sad, why not watch a funny movie? If you're anxious, always practice deep breathing. Pushing away. Block a painful or upsetting situation from your mind by using techniques such as guided imagery. Imagine putting your painful thoughts in a box, taping it shut, and throwing it away. Delay harmful urges for 1 hour. If it doesn't pass, another hour. Give your negative thoughts a name. Imagine it. Draw it and throw it out. Or talk to it and tell it how it makes you feel. Thoughts. Shift your thoughts to something neutral. Starting with the letter A, name all objects that start with A and go through the whole alphabet. Count specific objects in your surroundings. Sensations. Find a safe physical sensation to distract you from your distressing emotion. Take a cool shower. Get a massage. Put an ice cube on your wrist. Taste a favorite dish or something sour or spicy. Sit under a weighted blanket. Even pet a furry friend. Maintenance or comfort care is the next toolkit. Noticing. Identify your triggers by keeping a journal as a useful tool. Be a detective. If you had noticed this 5 minutes earlier, what would you have done? Note what you want to see more in your life. Make your migraine concrete and separate from yourself. Give it a name. And what would it look like? Practice self-care. Find moments of peace and joy. Reward yourself with utilizing coping skills. Take time to do things you enjoy. Make self-care a priority. Self-care should be given the same importance as other priorities in your life. Set short and long-term self-care goals. Make self-care a habit. Set boundaries to protect your self-care. You don't need a major obligation or excuse to say no to others. Your self-care is as important as anyone else's. A few minutes of self care is better than no self care. Keep up with self care even when you are feeling better. Practice gentle movement when you can, such as taking a walk, swimming, or stretching. Practice gratitude. Write 5 things you are grateful for and remember the simple things, like a friend who gave you a ride to the doctor's office, a chat with a neighbor, even waking up to a sunny day. Challenge negative automatic thoughts. Write down the negative thought and then one alternative positive thought. Look for that stinking thinking and challenge it. Separate the migraine attack from emotional distress. Note examples of high distress, mild attack days, and vice versa. Rate the attack and emotional distress separately in a record. Reach out. Add a support group or supportive friend to your team. Self empathy. If you wouldn't say it to a friend, don't say it to yourself. Remind yourself of at least one positive attribute about yourself each day. Give yourself the permission to grieve the feelings of loss that often come with chronic migraine disease. Spiritually, faith, religion, and spiritually are important aspects of many people's lives and can be utilized as a coping skill. Reach out to your pastor, rabbi, etc. for support. Engage in an activity that helps you feel closer to your higher power, such as taking a walk in nature. Reading a Bible, a daily meditation, or utilizing prayer. One more toolkit. Affirm is what is positive. Affirm what is positive. Often we easily affirm what is negative. Take time to affirm what is positive around you. Maybe it is a comfortable room or retreat, a compassionate doctor, a helpful support group, a furry friend, a book, or new coping skill. Also, make sure that you create a good stuff journal. That's pretty important as well. I'm hanging in there, Hunter. Believe me, I'm hanging in there. Why add a mental health professional to your treatment team? There is a fear in the chronic migraine community, as in most chronic illness communities, that going to a mental health professional or receiving a referral to one means that the physical illness is all in their head or a symptom of a mental health issue. This fear and stigma prevents people from caring for their emotional well being. The need to add a mental health professional is important because living with chronic migraine takes a toll not only on physical health, but on mental health as well. Reaching out to a mental health professional can help you learn new coping skills, learning how to better communicate and advocate for your needs. A mental health professional can also be a great partner and advocate in your care. There are many conditions that may be a focus of therapeutic attention relating to living with chronic migraine, such as social exclusion or rejection, inaccessibility to healthcare, targeted adverse discrimination, etc. There are also symptoms of clinical significance that may be assessed by your provider, such as a clinical depressive condition, trauma, or stress related condition. I know I'm reading as much as I can here. There is absolutely no gaming in this world of chronic migraine and headache disorders. The self assessment from the American Psychiatric Association. The following assessment is not to take the place of a mental health assessment by a qualified mental health professional. The definition of depression is five or more of the following symptoms have been present during the same 2-week period. At least one symptom is depressed mood or loss of interest or pleasure. Symptoms cause clinically significant distress or impairment in social, occupational, or other areas of functioning. The disturbance is not better accounted for by adjustment disorder with depressive symptoms, in which the stressor is a general medical condition. There's depressed mood most of the day, nearly every day, mainly in children or adolescents, and can be an irritable mood. Diminished interest or pleasure in all or almost all activities most of the day, nearly every day. Significant weight loss when not dieting, or weight gain, or decrease or increase in appetite nearly every day. Insomnia or hypersomnia. Psychomotor agitation, as if feeling restless, or feeling slowed down. I dare not say the R word at this time because unfortunately I get offended by that. Fatigue or loss of energy nearly every day. Feelings of worthlessness or excessive or inappropriate guilt nearly every day. Diminished ability to think or concentrate or indecisiveness. Recurrent thoughts of death, not just fear of dying, suicidal ideas, ideation, suicide attempt or plan. Note: responses to a significant loss, such as, for example, a serious medical illness or disability, may include feelings of intense sadness, rumination about the loss, insomnia, poor appetite, and weight loss, which may resemble a depressive episode. Although such symptoms may be understandable or appropriate to a loss, The presence of a major depressive episode should be considered. This decision requires the exercise of clinical judgment. Oh my goodness. And finally, anxiety. Excessive anxiety and worry, apprehensive expectation, occurring more days than not for at least 6 months about a number of events or activities. The anxiety or worry cause clinically significant distress or impairment in social, occupational, or other areas of functioning. The person finds it difficult to control the worry. The anxiety or worry are associated with three or more of the following. The disturbance is not better accounted by the adjustment disorder with anxiety, in which the stressor is a general medical condition. Restlessness or feeling keyed up or on edge, easily fatigued, difficulty concentrating, irritability, muscle tension, and sleep disturbance. Warning signs of suicide include suicidal thoughts, talking or writing about death, giving away important possessions, talking about feeling like a burden to other people, increased use of alcohol or drugs, reckless behavior, extreme social withdrawal or uh, extreme social withdrawal or isolation, making calls or visits to others to say goodbye, and thoughts of hopelessness that things will never get better in the future. And of course, if you want more about this, I'll post a link here. And of course, if you're having suicidal ideation, there are some phone numbers below that you could call in your country that could help you out. Why don't we go to resources over on CMA and then you could check them out. These are the headache and migraine organizations. Which of course includes, of course, the National Headache Foundation. They also have the clinical trials for episodic and chronic migraine, which could work for you. Support squad, huh? Let me see if I can find. I'm sure there are support groups. Yeah, there are support groups. Now, if you want more support, check out their Facebook closed support groups. These are 10 support groups so far. And of course, the main support group is at the first one. Most of these are, of course, on Facebook. So make sure that if you have a Facebook account, make sure that you check out one of these support groups that fits your needs. There's an off topic group for migraine mania. There's a support group for men with migraine. And yes, men do get migraine. There's Care Partners support group. Of course, moms with migraine. And then you have some support groups internationally. Of course, from the UK and Ireland, Australia and New Zealand, and of course, a support group in Canada. There are, of course, alternative approaches and gluten-free diets. And of course, there's Crafters Interest as a support group as well. Now, also, every June 29th, as I stated, that it's supposed to be rally against chronic migraine. And what you can do is you can post on social media on how you rally against chronic migraine. Of course, using the hashtag rally against chronic migraine. This is from last year. And this is the blog where you can see the latest post from fellow migraine warriors or gladiators like me. There are some printouts of certain cards, a coloring book, a migraine mental health guide, the Care Partner brochure, and so forth. There's also a shop where you can shop chronic migraine. You can check these little guys out. They also have they also are connected with the National Headache Foundation, where you get find a provider. You can also donate to make sure that you help out with chronic migraine. But please make sure that you always these are the CMA programs that you may want to check out. I don't know if any of them are going to be in 2023, hopefully. But you may want to check everything out. And also, I'm going to post more links. That you may want to check out. This is another migraine program called Good Days. Check out their link tree as well. Migraine is a combination of multiple genes and environmental factors and or a head injury, which includes concussions. The nervous system is more sensitive. A specific trigger may not always lead to a migraine attack. When triggers stack, and if your threshold is reached, a migraine attack occurs. You can lower your migraine threshold with lifestyle modifications and preventive medications. Also, did you know that a headache diary can help identify your headache and migraine triggers? A headache diary is helpful for those with migraine or headache to understand their headache history. Patterns identified from the diary can help a doctor determine the type of headache a patient has and recommend the appropriate treatment. So, if you have a notebook, write down write down what could help you. Write down what could be your triggers. What time the trigger starts. What day does it start? And what is that trigger? Does it affect you all day or does it affect you on certain times? Mm. Now, this is ARMS, Advocates Removing Migraine Stigma for Chronic Migraine. This is another way that you can help out on how to advocate. Advocating doesn't have to be complicated, overwhelming, or even time consuming. You can do this by sharing CMA's resources in the kit with your doctor's offices, other healthcare providers, community centers, libraries, health and craft fairs, farmers markets, and more. Keep a few pamphlets, pens, and pens in your bag or purse to have handy whenever you run into someone with migraine at the grocery store, at the bank, the gym, family events, and more. The examples of advocacy include giving someone the CMA pen, wearing a CMA shirt or gear, talking to your friends and family about what it's like to live with chronic migraine, supporting a friend or family member living with chronic migraine, sending people to their websites and or Facebook support groups, taking a picture, passing it out your swag and or you're wearing their gear and sharing it on social media. Don't forget to use their hashtag CMAaware. Fundraising for CMA as well is advocacy. Sharing from their website and social media pages as well as advocacy. Living with chronic migraine leaves us feeling unwell and not wanted to do much. Becoming an ARMS member gives purpose to your pain. Advocating from your bed, recliner, or couch can be as simple as copying and pasting CMA's social media posts and posting them to your own social media channels. And this is how you get involved. And again, if you scroll down, you'll see a Google Doc to sign up for ARMS. Now again, ARMS has a Facebook, and of course, you could also check out this website right here. That is the Alliance for Headache Disorders Advocacy. I'll post a link. I'll post a link below. And you could check it out You can definitely check it out there. I'm going to make sure about this. I'll definitely check it out myself after stream. Also, there is something that you should know for veterans. As you know, I've already talked about it over at the National Headache Foundation's website with Operation Brainstorm. But for November here at Chronic Migraine Awareness, it's Veterans Appreciation Month. And show a veteran some love and send them a free comfort kit in the month of November. But it's only limited to the first 100 orders. And of course, you could order below. Again, using the Google Docs. Again, this will be for the month of November. And of course, they had a street fair last year. And that's pretty great. Chronic Migraine Awareness, mind you, they are based in Holtsville, New York. I don't know where Holtsville, New York is actually. Is it outside of New York City? Well, my goodness, what have I not talked to you folks about already if I already have done so? That's about it. All you need to do now is to make sure that you educate yourself, educate others. We know migraine is a debilitating neurological disease. The more that you do, the more that you advocate yourself, the more that you advocate for others, the more people will listen, the more people will understand what you're going through, and the more will be able to help, be able to spread the word about chronic migraines and other headache disorders. Let your doctors know. Let your nurses know. Let other specialists know about this neurological disease. Because one way or another, we all want to live in a world that is pain-free. And as the mission of the National Headache Foundation says, to cure headache and to end its pain and suffering. I hope that my notes and my words and certain tips, me being an advocate for you to all the streamers on Twitch, whether you're a big streamer or a small streamer like me, I hope that you take my words, I hope that you take the websites, and I hope that you take everything in perspective of what I have talked about today. It is very important that we speak up not only for our physical health, but for our mental health as well when it involves chronic migraine. I want to thank you all for being with me today. I really do appreciate you joining me on stream. And even if you couldn't be able to, of course, be with me in chat, I do appreciate you stopping on in and being able to listen to what I had to say on my journeys and what I have to do to still advocate here on Twitch for migraines. Thanks for watching. Talk to you guys again real soon.